So, in the year 2045, Earth was basically a war zone. People were fighting giant monsters everywhere. It was super scary, and the soldiers were getting wrecked left and right. There was fire, chaos, and lots of yelling. Then, one huge monster with crazy red eyes showed up. This thing was massive. Its sharp tentacle aimed right at one soldier, and the poor dude just froze in fear. But then, out of nowhere, a man jumped in and sliced the tentacle. That was some insane timing. The monster howled like it just stubbed its toe, but way worse. The hero dude wore a military cap, and he wasn't having any of this monster nonsense. He started attacking like a total boss, cutting off the monster's limbs with his sword. The monster tried to hit back, but this guy dodged and whipped out a gun. Bam! He shot at the monster, and soon, the beast was down. Fuck yeah, that was super easy. After the fight, the man told the scared soldier to get up. This hero was Han Sung, the commander-in-chief of Earth's last defense squad. Humanity had been fighting monsters for decades. Those fucked things randomly spawned on Earth and thus began to destroy it. And there were almost no soldiers left. Thank God, after countless battles, those monsters almost gone. And now his last target was in front of him. After all, maybe he could declare Earth to be free again. But just then, zap! A golden magic circle appeared under him. He then vanished in a flash of light. Bro, his gun was just left behind on the battlefield. The soldier he saved started freaking out, calling for his commander. Well, our boy woke up somewhere pitch black, and he was chained up with glowing ropes. A bunch of creepy people in robes stood around him, looking shocked that their spell worked. Han Sung was confused and angry, wondering where he was. An old man in robes welcomed him and asked him to kill the Demon King and save their country. What bullshit is this? Of course, our boy was not happy. He yelled at them, wanting to know who they were and to shut up. The old man just waved his hand, and the glowing chains squeezed Han Sung, making him scream in pain. It hurt like hell. The old guy told him to chill out and said he'd be fine if he did what they wanted. He asked Han Sung again to defeat the Demon King, and even promised that if he helped, maybe they could send him home. With a scary look, he asked if Han Sung would accept. Han Sung, stuck in those magic chains and hurting, realized he had no choice. He agreed, but he was pissed, as he should be, duh. Just like that, our protagonist was dragged into a new world as the otherworldly hero of this empire. His new life sucked even more. For 10 years, he trained every day, fighting monsters and doing whatever the Empire wanted. It never stopped. Finally, he defeated the big bad Demon King, Valror, after a whole decade. Han Sung dreamed every night about going home. He thought he was finally free. But nope, the old bastard came back with bad news. There was another job. Some rebels still fought against the Empire, and Han Sung had to take them out. The new target was a guy named Badel. The old man promised that if Han Sung finished this mission, he would finally be free. As the painful magic chains burned him again, our boy got angry. He thought that a dog with a collar couldn't choose anything. He cursed these guys for making him their slave, and got ready for another fight. Then, the scene switched to a place called Teutonia Night Kingdom. Han Sung was hunting down Badel there. They fought hard, but in the end, our MC defeated him. As Badel lay dying, he called Han Sung a fool for listening to the Empire. Han Sung, feeling sad and guilty, said he had no choice. Badel, all bloody but still kind of cool, told our boy not to say sorry. He warned him that the Empire would dump him soon too. After the mission ended, Han Sung thought it was finally over. He could go home, right? Nah. Suddenly, a bastard named Count Brandenburg showed up and stabbed Han Sung from behind. Ouch, dude. That bastard acted all cold and congratulated our boy on being the most loyal hunting dog. Han Sung, shocked and gasping, realized he had been betrayed. Brandenburg laughed and said the hero was just the most foolish man in this empire. He twisted the sword in Han Sung's chest, saying a hunting dog only knows how to bite. He then said goodbye as Han Sung fell down, dying. This bastard, I want to skip to the chapter where he died. Anyway, as Han Sung lay there, he was mad. He cursed the Empire and swore he would never forget what they did to him. With his last breath, he promised to destroy all of them. Then, a bright blue light exploded from his chest. That night, Han Sung's old life ended, and a new one started. Suddenly, he woke up as a baby. A beautiful woman was holding him, saying she was his mom. Behind her was a man with long black hair. Bro, I knew our boy was gonna be super rich now. Han Sung somehow felt like he knew this guy. Then he realized it was Duke Saxon, the best necromancer ever. Now he understood. He had been reborn in Necropolis, a place full of forbidden magic ruled by the Empire. He smiled. Thank God the Stone of Reincarnation had worked. That Stone of Reincarnation was a super dangerous artifact, and he only used it because he was desperate to escape. He didn't know what kind of body he would get, but wow, he got lucky. Now he was the first son of the Saxon family, one of the most powerful noble houses in the empire. Our protagonist thought he was basically born with a golden spoon in his mouth. He felt more determined than ever to get revenge. He decided that when he grew up and learned necromancy, he would destroy everyone who betrayed him. Especially that bald fucking bastard. His smug face even make me want to punch him until he begs for mercy. But his new parents noticed something weird. Their baby, Han Sung, wasn't crying at all. The Duchess holding him looked worried and asked the nanny why. The nanny said it was strange, but at least he was breathing fine. Duke Saxon said a baby who doesn't cry could be bad luck. Yet the nanny said not to worry. Then she suggested they could just smack his butt to make him cry. Without waiting, the nanny slapped baby Han Sung's bottom. Han Sung got mad, but he still refused to cry. Who the hell would a grown man want to cry? His parents watched, kind of entertained, and the Duchess joked that maybe he had the Duke's strong will. Then the Duchess took the baby herself and said she would try. Instead of slapping, she just gently patted him. That soft, warm touch hit our boy right in the heart. All the memories of his hard life came back. He thought about how long it had been since someone touched him with real love. The warm hand of his mother made him feel something he hadn't felt in years. Pure, honest love. That was just too much. Han Sung, who hadn't cried since he was a little kid, couldn't hold it in anymore. He finally started bawling like a real baby. His new parents stared in surprise. But honestly, who could blame the guy? He had just lived a sad 2 lifetimes, bro. Anyway, 8 years had gone by since Han Sung was reborn. His new parents, Duke Alan Saxon and the Duchess Elena, started feeling like time was moving way too fast. The Duchess talked about how Dale, Han Sung's new name, had been glued to his book since he was just 4. Okay, dude, because our protagonist's name was Dale now, let's call him Dale from now on. Back to the story, the Duke looked proud, and she teased him, saying maybe Dale got his bookworm brain from his dad. The Duke agreed and said his boy really liked magic. But then the mood got serious. The Duchess made him remember his promise, never teach Dale necromancy, the dark magic stuff. Damn, our boy is gonna be super sad hearing that. While his parents were having their chat, Dale, aka Han Sung, was deep in his studies in the Grand Library. In their bedroom, the Duchess told her husband she was glad he remembered his promise, and he told her not to worry. He even said he had a cool gift for Dale's birthday, which was coming up soon. Suddenly, all that calm was gone. A maid burst in, looking totally freaked out. She said something had happened to Dale. The Duke and Duchess ran down the hall, yelling Dale's name and thinking the worst. They found our boy collapsed in the study, blue mana swirling all around him like some kind of magic storm. Elena, the Duchess, rushed over to check if he was okay, but Dale, a bit dazed, said he was fine. The Duke, though, looked at his son in shock. He realized Dale could already use super strong mana, and that was not normal for a kid his age. Elena was scared and wanted to help, but Alan, the Duke, was focused. He asked Dale if he just released mana from his body like it was no big deal. Inside, our boy started to freak out, thinking he just messed up big time by showing off his power so early. But then something wild happened. The Duke's scary mood changed to a proud dad smile. He patted Dale on the head and said, of course his son was amazing, but it was a shame he couldn't teach him necromancy. That made Dale panic again. If the greatest necromancer around wouldn't teach him, how was he supposed to get strong enough for revenge? Elena, being the softie, told her son to go rest in his room. While walking away, our protagonist overheard his dad call his mom Elena and say he just thought of the perfect birthday gift. That got Dale's brain spinning. Next, it was Dale's 8th birthday. The Saxon mansion was packed full of nobles from all around the empire, and the party was super fancy. Dale sat alone upstairs, looking down at the noisy party. He didn't really get why everyone was so nice to him. After spending a whole past life being used and betrayed, all this love and celebration just felt weird to him. His mind drifted back to the time his mana went wild. He realized now it happened because he read a book called The Life of the Hero from Another World and started remembering his old life. The memories made something inside blow up, and that's why his magic power went out of control. He thought it would suck to give up on necromancy since he needed it for revenge, so he started thinking of ways to convince his dad to teach him. But he remembered that asking for that as a birthday present would probably not work. Just then, his mom Elena showed up with a mysterious person in a hood. Elena smiled and wished him a happy birthday. Dale asked who the person was. The stranger pulled back their hood and, boom, it was an elf-looking woman with blue hair and a gentle smile. Elena said this was Sophia, an elder from the Blue Magic Tower and a master of water magic. Dale was shocked when his mom told him Sophia would be his new teacher. Elena even gave him a little wink, like she was in on a secret. Dale realized this was his dad's big birthday gift, a real-life magic master. But there was a catch. Sophia was a master of water magic, which was good for defense, not the kind of explosive power he wanted. So it was pretty clear his mom really did not want him messing with dark magic. Sophia then asked Dale if they could talk alone, and he agreed. They went outside onto a snowy path. Sophia was super direct. She said she was only supposed to teach him water magic and asked if he was bummed out about it. Dale was surprised. How did she know what he really wanted? She then explained that it made sense for a kid to want to learn his dad's famous necromancy. Then she dropped some juicy info. Everyone in the Empire knew about the Duke's wedding promise to never teach dark magic to his kids. When Alan Saxon wanted to marry Lady Elena, she was scared of his dark reputation. So, to win her over, he swore he would never pass those dark arts to his children. At their wedding, the elders even wore white to show the promise was real. That's why learning dark magic right now was impossible. But Sophia wasn't all bad news. She said maybe, one day, she could find a way to talk Lady Elena into it. She asked Dale if he was willing to trust her and follow her lead. Dale was suspicious and asked why an elf would even want to help with dark magic family, since elves usually hated that stuff. Elf usually values the laws of nature, and reviving the dead is kind of the reverse of it. But Sophia just laughed. She said that even priests brought people back to life using divine power. When people do a holy resurrection, isn't it also violating the will of nature? To her, necromancy and divine power were just two sides of the same coin. Hearing that explanation, our boy was impressed. He thought Sophia was way cooler and more open-minded than most elves. Maybe she'd be a good master after all. Sophia then said it was time to start their first lesson. She knew Dale had already made a fragment of a mana circle, so she wanted him to build it into a full circle, which was the base for casting real spells. Dale was pumped. This was the first real step toward power and revenge. Sophia told him to put his hand over his heart and focus. Our protagonist nodded and closed his eyes. He could feel so much mana in this world, it was everywhere, just waiting to be used. But to control it, you had to build a mana heart circle around your heart. He gathered the little pieces of mana and forced them to spin together, just like Sophia had told him. He understood it perfectly, and soon a glowing blue circle of mana formed inside him. Dude, he did it super fast. Sophia kept giving instructions, telling him to make the mana rotate and not rush, because usually this stuff took a month. But Dale just put out his hand and showed her. Blue mana flowed out, totally under his control. He told Sophia he was already done. Sophia stared at him like she'd just seen a ghost. She couldn't believe it. Dale was supposed to be a beginner, but he had already made a full mana circle in just a few minutes. Does this make sense? She started thinking maybe he was a real magic prodigy, and honestly, she was probably right. No, Dale was one step above prodigy. Anyway, she wasn't done testing him yet. She asked if Dale could try to release mana through his new magic circle. Dale, being super confident, said he could totally do it. As he got ready, our boy started thinking about how different this life was from his last one. Most kids had a hard time just sending a little mana out of their bodies, but not this dude. In his old life, all his magic was about blowing stuff up, but it was never enough for true revenge. Now, thanks to his new dad's crazy talent, his body could handle mana like it was nothing. He even guessed that he could learn all sorts of magic, not just water stuff, from his new teacher. So, our protagonist put all his focus into his fingertips. He drew mana from his heart and made a magic circle appear. The mana got so cold it turned into a sharp ice bolt. Inside, he promised himself this would be the first of many weapons he'd use to take down the Empire someday. Dude was totally on a mission. He then pointed his hand at a tree and told Sophia he was ready. He made the ice bolt fly across the yard. It shot straight through a giant tree and busted it apart. Sophia just stared with her mouth hanging open. Mana usually fell apart when beginners tried to use it, but Dale's spell was perfect. It was super sharp, solid, and way too powerful for a kid. She was left thinking one thing: who in the world was this little monster? She went over to the tree stump and checked it out. She realized Dale didn't just throw out some random magic. He actually pulled cold energy from the air and shaped it perfectly, like a pro. That was supposed to be just a beginner's move, but Dale did it better than most grown-up mages. Dale, though, acted all innocent, asking if he did something wrong. Sophia smiled at him, but inside her brain was spinning. There was no way a normal 8-year-old could make a spell this well. He used 3 exact steps: spin, speed up, and pack the mana together to make the ice bolt, which was something only soldiers were supposed to do. It was called the Golden Ratio Formula, and Dale pulled it off without even thinking. Sophia now understood why the Duke was sad, because he couldn't teach Dale himself. Later on, she went to see Duke Alan to give her report. The Duke was shocked when Sophia kind of hinted she might not be able to teach Dale. He said that if Dale could make a magic circle so fast, she should definitely help him get stronger. But Sophia explained that Dale didn't just make a circle, he created a perfect, super deadly spell right away. The Duke couldn't believe it. She told him the spell was military level, with a perfect formula. and said his son had a real knack for making things that could kill. The Duke got the wrong idea and asked if she was saying she couldn't handle teaching a kid with so much destructive power. Well, everyone knows the Blue Magic Tower pursues non-violent magic, but Sophia quickly said that was not the problem. In fact, she wanted to help Dale even more because of his gift. The Duke was about to agree when Sophia brought up the necromancy magic, hinting that Dale might be looking for his dad's family magic. The Duke suddenly looked worried, realizing Dale might already be on the path to learning dark magic. She kept telling him she respected his promise to Elena, but he couldn't just choose everything for Dale, not when the kid was this talented. While all the grown-ups were talking about his crazy powers, Dale was hanging out in the hallway, trying to eavesdrop. He couldn't hear anything, so he just slumped onto the floor, sure they were talking about him again. He thought back to his magic lesson and realized he needed to be way more careful with his power from now on. He remembered how shocked Sophia was and decided he couldn't keep going full blast like that. Then someone called his name. Our boy looked up and saw a super shiny knight with a big smile. Dale's whole face lit up as he called out, "Uncle Helmet!" Helmet greeted him with a big laugh and asked what he was doing on the floor. Dale, acting silly, asked where his uncle had been. He then told him he was out fighting monsters and keeping the family safe, then picked him up in a huge bear hug. While Helmet held him, Dale guessed right away that his uncle had been in the dungeon, fighting all the scary stuff down there. He got a little sad, thinking about how dangerous dungeons were in this world and how knights like Helmet had to risk their lives all the time. He knew the Saxon lands were even crazier than other places, because, after he beat the Demon King in his last life, the Empire dumped all the leftover monsters here. That was some serious crap. Back in the moment, our protagonist told Helmet to be careful out there. Helmet was touched and asked if Dale was worried about him. Right then, Duke Alan came out of the study, and Helmet quickly knelt to show respect. The Duke thanked him for his hard work. Suddenly, Elena, Dale's mom, showed up with a huge, happy smile. She ran to Dale and said she heard he reached the first circle in magic, and she was super proud. His dad also congratulated him and asked if Dale wanted a reward for his accomplishment. This put our MC in a tough spot. He really wanted to beg his dad for necromancy lessons, but knew that would make everyone suspicious. He scrambled for a normal wish, then shouted that he wanted a little sister. Both his parents turned bright red, totally shocked. "Bro, you know how to act like a little kid sometimes." After a super awkward pause, the Duke stuttered that they would try their best. In the back, Helmet and another knight almost lost it, trying not to laugh out loud. That night, after all the birthday hype and magic madness, Dale was finally alone in his bed. He felt totally wiped out. Acting like a normal kid all day was hard work, and using magic for the first time in this little body was even tougher. He yawned and started drifting off, thinking he really needed some good sleep. But nope, no sweet dreams for this guy. Suddenly, he was thrown into a crazy nightmare. It was like he got teleported back into his old life. He saw that bastard Brandenburg, the same jerk who betrayed and stabbed him before. Brandenburg's ghostly face popped up, looking all evil and creepy. He started trash-talking Dale, asking if our boy was getting soft in this new comfy life. He teased him. Maybe he had already forgotten about revenge. Then, the bastard leaned in really close and said the Empire would never stop hunting Dale, and they were going to wipe him out completely. Dang, that was harsh. Our boy freaked out and snapped awake, gasping for air. And then, bam! A huge blast of blue mana burst out of his chest, totally out of control. He groaned in pain, grabbing at his chest. It felt like his heart was about to explode, bro. This was a mana rampage, which is like when a mage's power goes nuts and they can't control it. Dale was super frustrated. Even in this new life, the Empire and all his old trauma just wouldn't leave him alone. He got so mad that he cursed the Empire under his breath and stumbled out of his room, hoping the cold night air would chill him out. Except, going outside didn't help at all. The mana rampage just got worse. He was struggling to breathe, thinking he might actually pass out. Things were looking really bad. But then, a calm voice cut through the chaos. Someone said it looked like our boy was in a tough spot. Dale looked up and saw Sophia, his magic teacher, standing there cool as ever. She said she could see the mana rampage and that he had crazy talent, but she also admitted his magic made her feel kind of nervous, like there was something dangerous inside him. She then walked over, put her hand on his chest, and sent out calming mana energy into him. She thought to herself that if that dark, nasty feeling in Dale's magic took over, he might never be the same again. Thanks to her, the wild energy finally chilled out. Dale looked down and could control his mana again easily in his hands. He felt super relieved, like he just dodged a huge disaster. Sophia called his name, looking really serious. She gave him a reality check, saying his magic wasn't for healing or creating things, it was built for destroying, dude. She told him it was a dangerous gift, Then she pulled out a big, thick book with a creepy pentagram on the cover. She explained that because Dale's magic was so risky, she thought it was lucky she could be the one to teach him. She handed over the book, and our protagonist nearly fainted. Just holding it, he could feel the dark power oozing from the pages. He instantly knew it was a necromancy book. Sophia smiled a gentle smile and said maybe it was fate for her to teach him. She even wished him a happy birthday again. Bro, Sophia is the best teacher ever. Even our boy was so surprised and grateful that he ran up and hugged her super tight around the waist. Her face softened, and she patted his back, teasing that he was a really needy kid. Can you blame him, though? That was a pretty epic birthday present. A few days later, Sophia took Dale out to a snowy field for their next lesson. She told Dale his target for today would be rabbits. She told him to remember what it felt like going hunting with his dad, and to focus all that energy into his magic. Dale nodded, made a magic circle, and then spotted a white rabbit in the snow. He got serious and fired off a sharp ice spell. The ice shot hit the rabbit dead on, and the poor thing was done for. Sophia just watched, totally calm. She noticed that Dale didn't even flinch. His hands were steady, and there was no regret in his eyes. Dude was stone cold. Yeah, she convinced herself again that Dale was born to be a hunter, the beast with its killing intent. She then called out to him and started a new lesson. She explained that even when mages use the same spell, it comes out different for everyone. She asked Dale if he knew why. Dale said he didn't. So Sophia smiled and dropped some magic wisdom. She told him that magic is like a mirror. It shows what's inside your mind and heart. The way you think and feel shapes the magic you make. She showed her own sweet, gentle water magic to prove her point. She told Dale that magic is basically a reflection of who you are on the inside. She went on, saying that spell names like Firewall are just a way to help mages picture their spells. At the big magic towers, each one teaches a different style. The red magic tower goes for firepower and destruction, while her blue magic tower is all about being flexible and flowing. There's also the dark, white, and green magic towers, each with their own vibe. After all that, she smiled again and decided maybe this stuff was a little too deep for Dale right now. Now that there was a rabbit corpse, Sophia started Dale's first real necromancy lesson. She said the basic move was to raise a zombie. Dale went for it, figuring out the necromancy magic is not as easy as it seems, and sending out shadowy mana and attaching invisible strings to all the rabbit's important spots, like its head and legs. The dead rabbit jerked up to its feet, and its eyes started glowing red. She looked impressed and said he did a good job. Next step, Sophia asked Dale if he was ready for the next challenge. Dale said he was totally ready. She told him to put a defensive spell, called Frozen Armor, on his new undead minion. Dale focused, blue mana sparking everywhere, and shot out a burst of ice power. In seconds, the zombie rabbit was covered in jagged, shiny ice armor. Sophia checked out his work and said he did pretty well. She wanted to make sure it was strong, so she made her own giant ice bolt and fired it right at the zombie. The bolt smashed into the armor, breaking some of the ice, but the zombie rabbit was still standing. Dale's face lit up with a huge smile. He was super proud that his zombie creation blocked his master's attack. Seeing Dale all fired up, Sophia nodded and said he did awesome, then asked if he had another wish. Dale, still pumped, said he wanted her to properly teach him both the dark arts and more techniques for his water magic. Bro, this kid was never satisfied, always aiming higher. Hearing that, Sophia just gave him a tiny, weird smile, and then she shut him down with one word. No. Yup, just like that. Dale was so shocked that he could not even say anything. Sophia started explaining her reasons. She told him that what he did with water magic was still super basic stuff. She said that water magic is tough and needs a mage to be really deep and smart as they get better. She reminded Dale that most beginners could barely master one type of magic, and handling two at the same time was crazy hard. Only a really rare mage could do that, and definitely not a kid his age. She said that what our boy wanted was just too much. It was way too ambitious. Dale was totally stunned. He wondered why she called it ambition like it was a bad thing. Then he tried to act all sad, and reminded Sophia that she had promised they would walk this path together. He made it sound like she was breaking her word if she refused to help him now. And guess what? That trick worked. Sophia got flustered and could not fight back against Dale's drama. She quickly ended the lesson for the day and walked off. But Dale was not about to give up, not this kid. That night, he went into the big study, carrying a mountain of books. He was super determined. He wanted all the power. He told himself that he could handle anything on his own. He promised himself that he would work so hard that Sophia would have to teach him both water magic and necromancy. No arguments. After that long, crazy night, somebody called Dale's name again and again. He looked up and saw Sophia standing there on the snowy plain. She looked worried and said that he looked like he had not slept at all. Dale tried to act super cheerful and told her he stayed up to prepare something just for her. Sophia told him to be careful and not work too hard, but our boy just smiled and said he was ready. Now it was showtime. He threw his hand out, and a dark magic circle appeared. He pointed to an armored zombie rabbit. Sophia watched with a little smile, and she saw that he had already learned the basic spell in just one night. But Dale was not done showing off, not even close. The armor on the zombie rabbit suddenly started to crack and glow. Then, boom, it exploded with ice shards shooting everywhere. Sophia was shocked. She realized this was a super advanced spell called Ice Explosion. But wait, there was more. Now the zombie rabbit created a dark ball inside its stomach, and it exploded again, blasting the flying ice shards even farther. Dude, the combo was wild. Ice and dark magic mashed together. Sophia had to think fast, and made a shining, six-sided magic shield to protect herself. When the dust finally settled, she stared at Dale, totally speechless. Our boy stayed calm and explained that he used two spells, Corpse Explosion and Ice Explosion, at the same time. He said he mixed water magic and dark magic into one attack. To prove he was the real deal, he made an orb of water magic in one hand and a swirl of dark energy in the other. With a big, confident grin, he asked Sophia if this was enough to call him a dual mage. Bro, this kid knows how to aura farming. Anyway, Sophia just stood there, her shield still up. She had never seen a combo attack like that before. Dale's magic was seriously strong and kinda scary. He had used the Corpse Explosion to make the blast bigger, and then sent ice and bone flying everywhere like deadly blades. She then went down on one knee in the snow to look at the sharp ice pieces. She thought Dale's magic was not just creative, it was also made for killing, like something a soldier would use in a war. She wondered what kind of creepy images Dale had in his mind to make spells like that. While she was thinking, Dale's face went super happy. He called out to his uncle Helmut, who was riding up on a horse. Helmut was leading a bunch of knights in black armor. He greeted Dale and Sophia. Our boy got really excited and asked if he had just come back from a dungeon raid. Helmut nodded. These guys were the Black Cavalry, the most epic knights in the Dukedom of Saxon. They could cover their lances with magical energy, and Helmut was one of the 7 strongest swordmasters on the whole continent. Dale saw his chance, flashed his best smile, and reminded Helmut about teaching him sword fighting. The uncle laughed and said he did not forget. Then he told Dale not to hang out in the cold for too long as his knights rode away. Sophia then told Dale it was time to go back to the estate, and Dale agreed, calling her master, like a good student. That night, Sophia met with Dale's parents, Duke Alan and Duchess Elena. She told them calmly that their son had mastered the first circle in both necromancy and water magic. The Duke and Duchess were shocked. Duke Alan reminded Sophia they only wanted her to teach Dale water magic. Sophia said she knew that, but as Dale's mentor, she felt she had to teach him what he wanted, because his ambition was way bigger than just one kind of magic. Duchess Elena thought about it and agreed. She said that Sophia could teach him about some dark magic if that was what Dale wanted, but she should also continue teaching water magic, as promised. Sophia nodded. She would take care of Dale. As she left, she told the Duchess she was sorry for not keeping her word. After Sophia was gone, Elena said she could not believe how amazing their kid was. He had become a dual mage at only 8 years old. The Duke agreed, saying that Dale's power was a little scary, but of course he had to be strong, because he was their child. The Duke somehow feels sorry and tells Elena that he wants to teach Dale necromancy himself. He said he wanted his son to be strong enough to do a lord's job. He also noted that, as a mage, he wanted a super talented student like Dale, but most of all, he wanted his son to get his legacy. The Duke got really emotional, bro. He even apologized to Elena for breaking a promise he made a long time ago. Elena listened with a serious face. She knew people hated necromancy and were scared of it. That's why she always tried to make the Duke stop. But after seeing how determined Alan was, she could not stay angry. She gave him a big, warm hug. She stated that if he was going to do this, he should teach Dale to be so good at necromancy that nobody else's opinion mattered. That was actually kinda sweet. The Duke hugged her back, super moved. Then he swore, on everything that he would train Dale to be the best of the best. You could tell he meant it. Soon, it was time for Dale's very first necromancy lesson with his dad. This was not just some normal class, bro. The Duke took Dale deep underground, all the way to a spooky magic workshop under the castle. It was dark and kind of creepy, with a stone table in the middle. There was even a dead rabbit just lying there. The Duke started the lesson by giving Dale a super stern look. He was really disappointed. He wanted to know how Dale could bring back the dead if he did not understand how those bodies worked. Dale tried to defend himself. He said he just did what Sophia taught him, nothing fancy. But the Duke was not having it, dude. He told our protagonist he was not allowed to use those basic spells with him. So, instead of magic, the Duke made Dale study, hardcore study. He gave him a desk stacked with giant books about bones and muscles. The Duke told him to memorize everything about how every living thing was built. Man, Dale must have thought this was going to be boring, but he worked super hard and remembered every single word from those big books. Bro basically learned how to suddenly be a doctor in his life. When Dale finished studying, his dad handed him a grimoire and told him it was time for real magic. But when Dale looked up, he was shocked. There was a goblin corpse on the table. The Duke noticed Dale's confusion and grinned. He explained the difference between a weak mage and a real master at necromancy. He said a rookie might make a famous sword master's body just walk around like a lame zombie, but a true pro could turn a normal soldier into a death knight. He pointed at the goblin and told Dale to show what he could do with it. Our boy took a deep breath and got ready. Purple mana started swirling around his body. Yeah, he was not playing around. He realized this was way harder than the rabbit. The goblin had 2 legs and was way more complicated. He shot a string of purple energy into the goblin. He tried to animate it, but it was like handling a crazy puppet with a lot of strings. He wanted to make the goblin stronger, so he tried to make its body harder and tougher. But dude, he messed up. The goblin's body got so stiff that it could not even move. Crap, talk about a fail. Right then, the Duke came over and put a hand on Dale's shoulder. He told him that making the body hard was smart, but it also meant the goblin could not move at all. Then the Duke's eyes started glowing with magic and told Dale to watch and learn. The Duke released a massive wave of dark magic that wrapped around the goblin. The goblin floated up in the air, sparking with super powerful purple energy. He then started explaining stuff. He said that the ribcage is built to protect organs, but dead things do not even need that. As he talked, his magic twisted and changed the goblin's bones. The ribcage exploded outward and turned into long, sharp bone blades sticking out of its chest. A real necromancer has to know how to change a body to fit his wishes. Dude, that was creepy, but kinda awesome too. Dale just stood there sweating, not sure if he should be scared or impressed. So, this is the real necromancy. Standing next to the super freaky goblin, the Duke said this was the foundation of black magic, knowing how to change bodies for your own goals. Dale looked up at his dad, totally changed inside. He asked his dad to teach him how the Noir Magic Tower thought about magic, like, what was their main idea? The Duke looked really happy at that. He asked if his son truly wanted to know the truth. Then he knelt down to Dale's level and said that the truth always lives inside death. To find it, they had to understand what life really meant. Those words hit Dale hard. Suddenly, he remembered when he was Hansung, a hero on a burning battlefield filled with bodies. A man was kneeling in front of him, begging to live. Hansung just ignored the man's cries and cut him down with a bloody sword. The memory was brutal, bro. He never knew the beauty of life. After all, he was always be a killing machine. Our boy suddenly came back to the present, shaking and sweating. The Duke called Dale's name, worried that something was wrong. Dale stammered and said he was fine, even though he looked freaked out. He tried to stand tall and kept telling himself that he was okay, even while the whole room felt like it was spinning. As the days went by, our MC kept doing magic training with his dad. Pretty soon, everybody in the Empire heard the crazy news. Duke Alan Saxon was teaching his son the dark arts himself. The nobles were freaking out, because the Duke had broken a huge promise to his wife. Now, everyone, from sneaky red-haired guys to strict old lords and clever witches, was paying attention to Dale and his family. So they are all the enemy in the future? Or what? Anyway, a few weeks later, Dale was not just sitting around doing magic. Nope, this kid was busy learning sword fighting, and his teacher was none other than his uncle, Helmut. They were dueling with wooden swords, smacking and clashing like it was a real battle. Every time Dale attacked, Helmut blocked him super easily, but he did it with this big, confident smile, like he was having the time of his life. Dale did not give up, though. He stared at his uncle, looking for any tiny chance to break through. Helmut noticed this and just smirked, clearly impressed with how stubborn his nephew was. Then, he went on the attack. He swung hard, but Dale was quick. He dodged and then did this insane move. Dude went airborne, spinning around and coming at Helmut from a wild angle. Helmut's eyes almost popped out of his head in shock. Dale's move actually worked. He knocked the sword right out of his uncle's hand. Dale was breathing hard, like he just ran a marathon. And Helmut just laughed like crazy, totally loving the fight, and gave him some serious praise. But our boy was sharp. He pointed out that there was no way a sword god like Helmut would just drop his weapon. He guessed his uncle did it on purpose. Helmut said that was not true. He really was surprised. He explained that he had used real sword moves, the kind that would have taken down a normal person for good. Then he got a little sad, saying Dale's sword skills were so good, it was a shame he was going to be a mage instead. He then put a hand on Dale's shoulder, looking all serious. He wanted to know why Dale trained so hard, especially when his hands were already all bandaged up. He even knelt down to fix up Dale's wounds. He told Dale not to push himself until he got hurt. Our MC looked at his own hands, and then told his uncle that he had a reason for working this hard. With a big grin, he explained that it would be lame for the Duke's son to just hide behind magic and guards. And, come on, he said, who would miss the chance to learn sword fighting from one of the top 7 swordmasters in the whole continent? Bro, Helmut loved that answer. He laughed so loud it probably scared the birds away. He said if he had a kid like Dale, he would be proud forever. Dale pumped his fist in the air, super happy to get that kind of compliment. But their fun moment did not last. The Duchess, Elena, showed up, looking like she was having a good time watching her son train. She told them they seemed really cheerful, and Dale ran up to greet his mom. Elena smiled and said she came to check on Dale's training, but she also had some news. She asked if he remembered what he wanted for his birthday. Dale looked confused for a second. He remembered when he told his parents he wanted a little sister for his birthday. Wait, is this real? His eyes went huge. Elena looked super happy as she put a gentle hand on her belly. She told Dale that he really had to take care of his little sibling now. Our boy went from shocked to crazy happy in about 2 seconds. He promised his mom that he would do a great job as a big brother. Fast forward 10 months, the Saxon family was all together in a really fancy bedroom. The new baby was here, and Dale could not take his eyes off his little sister. He leaned over, just staring, like he could not believe she was real. Elena teased him, asking if the baby was really that interesting. Dale said, yeah. He still thought it was kind of unreal. He touched the baby's cheek thinking she was just the cutest thing ever. Duke Allen saw how much Dale loved his sister, and he asked if Dale wanted to hold her. Our boy freaked out a little, but Elena gently handed the baby over. Turns out, holding her was not as scary as he thought. The Duke said the baby looked just like Dale did as a baby. Elena added that it was so weird, the baby always cried with her, but never with Dale. She said the baby seemed super happy in his arms. Dale looked down at his sister with a soft, gentle face. Then Alan asked Dale how he felt now. Dale's face changed. He got serious. He told his dad that even though the baby was light, she felt really heavy at the same time. The Duke smiled in this wise, dad way, and told him that was called the weight of life. He put a hand on Dale's shoulder and told him never to forget that feeling. Just then, Elena jumped in, saying it was time for Dale's lesson, and that Sophia was probably waiting already. Now, Dale went out to train. Sophia was already there, and told him this lesson would be real combat. Our boy looked a bit nervous, and asked if he could really fight her for real. Sophia said she wanted him to come at her with everything he had. Dale got ready, magic swirling all around him. He made a glowing blue magic circle appear. Sophia was surrounded by her own water magic, looking pumped to see how much he had improved. Our protagonist did not hold back. He launched 2 big sharp ice projectiles at Sophia. But Sophia? She smashed the first one like it was nothing, saying it was way too slow. The second one she just knocked away without even trying. She caught a piece of the broken ice and shot Dale a sly smile, asking why he was going easy on his teacher. Dale was left standing there, totally silent, realizing he just got called out in a big way. She told him to hurry up and put up a barrier, but she was not going easy on him at all. She blasted him with a huge wave of water magic. Dale's eyes went wide as the magic attack raced toward him. He barely managed to block it, forming an ice gauntlet around his arm right at the last second. The gauntlet shattered from the force, but he was okay. He thought to himself that if he had not blocked that attack, he would have been in big trouble. Sophia kept smiling, calm and proud, and said she was impressed that Dale could make ice armor so fast. Now, she urged him to attack again. In response, Dale put his hands on the cold, snowy ground and started to focus hard. He poured all his mana into the earth, and suddenly, bam! An enormous, sparkling ice wall shot up between them. Dude, this thing was huge. Sophia was super surprised. She wondered why Dale would just throw up a giant wall like that in the middle of a fight. She thought maybe he needed a break or something. But then, she noticed something weird. The ice was way thicker than normal, and she realized the mana inside it was built in this super complicated way. She reached out to touch the wall, trying to figure out Dale's plan, and saw it had a hexagon shape, which was part of a crazy spell formula. She was about to say something, but then Dale, hiding behind the wall and looking super intense, gave a mental command to the spell. Suddenly, the whole ice wall exploded. There was a huge flash of blue light. Shards and freezing mist went flying everywhere. Sophia was totally caught off guard. For a second, it looked like she really got hit and shredded into pieces. Bro, this must be some trick, right? No way Sophia just died like that. Anyway, when the dust settled, Dale stood there in the wreckage, looking pretty proud of himself. He started thinking about what he just did. He had made the ice wall extra dense, packed it tight, and then compressed it like a grenade. He figured it would be super hard for even his master to dodge that kind of surprise attack. But then his smile faded. He saw somebody frozen solid in the ice and freaked out. Oh crap. Was that Sophia? He shouted her name, feeling panic rise up. But guess what? The frozen figure was just a fake. The real Sophia appeared right next to him, acting totally chill, and asked if he called her. Dale was so startled, he almost jumped out of his boots. She waved her hand and made the ice statue disappear. She actually praised Dale for pulling off such a wild spell. She then touched her cheek and noticed she had a little cut. Damn, she was honestly amazed that Dale, just a first circle mage, could actually land a hit on someone as strong as her. Yet our boy felt bad and said he didn't mean to hurt her. But Sophia told him not to worry. She even felt grateful for the wound, because it meant Dale trusted her enough to use his full power. She looked super proud and ruffled his hair, asking how he came up with such a move. Dale just grinned and said it was all thanks to her training. She just gave him the warmest smile ever. Man, that was a wholesome teacher-student moment. Later on, Sophia went to report to Duke Alan Saxon about what happened. The Duke immediately saw the wound on her face and looked worried. She told him she got careless while teaching Dale and that his spell was really sharp. The Duke was concerned and said he owed her a lot for helping his son, but Sophia just brushed it off and said teaching Dale was actually a joy. Then the Duke got serious. He told her that there was news about orcs crossing into their territory. He said it wasn't a huge threat, but he wanted to send Dale into battle. Sophia was shocked. She said Dale was way too young for real combat. But the Duke explained Dale would not be put on the front lines. Even so, he said that defending their land was the Saxon family's duty, and as the heir, his son had to step up. Dude was not messing around. He even let out a scary dark aura for a second to show how serious he was. Seeing that, Sophia asked what he wanted her to do. The Duke's mood softened, and he revealed his plan. He was going to let Dale use a powerful family artifact, but Sophia had to help him learn to control it. Now, if you don't know, artifacts in this world are no joke. They are objects full of crazy power and are basically alive with their own will. To use them, you have to pay with your magic or even your life force. The stronger the artifact, the more dangerous it is. Some can even kill you, so, yeah, not for newbies. The scene changed to a huge, fancy corridor. Dale, his dad, and Sophia walked together. The Duke explained that the Saxon family had learned how to deal with powerful artifacts over generations. When they reached the artifact vault, the Duke stopped Dale and told him that, as the heir, he had to be ready for battle soon. Dale was stunned at first, but then he started to get really hyped. But, of course, there was a catch. Before he could touch anything, the Duke said he had to first learn how to control the power of darkness that ran in their family. Then, the doors opened, and bro, the vault was insane. There were hundreds of magical items everywhere, each one glowing or giving off a weird energy. Dale could actually feel all the mana in the room. The Duke pointed out the Demon King artifacts. These were the real deal. Super dangerous, super rare, and not your everyday magic trinkets. Dale was told not to touch anything until he learned how to control them. But of course, our protagonist was already gone. While the Duke and Sophia were warning him, he had sneaked off into the vault and started wandering. The Duke spun around, looking panicked, and asked where his son had disappeared to this time. Meanwhile, Dale was strolling around the vault, totally chill, checking out the crazy stuff around him. The dark artifacts started whispering to him, each trying to lure him in. One shield offered to help him destroy his enemies. Some rings and little treasures wanted to make him powerful beyond his dreams. But our boy just smiled and shook his head. He thought that kind of power was not enough for what he wanted. He needed something even bigger for the revenge he dreamed about. That's when he noticed a dark, hooded cloak was floating beside him. He recognized it as a shadow cloak, a super rare item that used to belong to Duke Berta, one of the Demon King's top guys. This cloak could control shadows and turn the wearer into a serious nightmare for anyone. No hesitation. He grabbed the cloak and tried it on. But the moment he put it over his shoulders, things got real. Dark shadows shot out and wrapped around him, pulling him into a creepy, empty void. A scary voice echoed, shouting again and again that it was hungry. This was not just a magic item, it was alive. Turns out, the shadow inside the cloak was from its last master, and it could act like a living thing. If Dale wanted to control it, he had to force the shadow beast to obey him completely. Well, our MC was not scared though. He just grinned, all bold, ready for a fight. Right then, a gigantic monster made of pure darkness dropped down, ready to battle Dale in this wild trial of wills. Man, Things were about to get insane. Near him, Sophia and Duke Allen were shocked. The cloak wasn't just a coat anymore, dude. It turned into a giant ball of darkness, swallowing Dale up. Time started ticking by, and the Duke was getting more and more worried. He told Sophia that if this test went on too long, Dale could totally lose his mind or even get eaten by the shadow monster. Sophia was like, "Oh crap, what do we do?" The Duke said they might have to drag Dale back by force. But just as the Duke was about to act, the big shadow sphere started shaking like crazy. Then, boom, the darkness exploded and disappeared, and right there in the middle was our boy, just chilling, totally fine, and wearing that crazy artifact cloak like it was no big deal. He stepped out, calm as anything, and answered his dad. Sophia ran up to him, super anxious, wanting to know if he was okay. Dale said he was fine, and even joked that it just stung a little. He was grinning, like the whole thing was just a quick workout or something. Sophia was absolutely stunned. She couldn't believe Dale was totally unhurt, even though that cloak was supposed to mess up even the toughest mages. She wondered how a little kid could handle all that mental pressure and not go nuts. But Dale wasn't done. He looked at his dad and with this totally innocent face, asked if he could try on some of the other artifacts too. Bro, the Duke and Sophia were both so shocked, they just stood there with their mouths open. After a big sigh, the Duke finally said yes. Dale got super happy, thanked his dad, and rushed off ready to test every single artifact in that vault. Dude was going to be busy for a while. A few days later, out on the Saxon family training field, our protagonist was ready for more action. His uncle Helmut saw him and nearly dropped his sword. He pointed at the shadow cloak and asked if it was really that infamous artifact. Dale said yep, that was the one. Helmut was still worried and told him that the cloak was supposed to be super hard to control. Dale just shrugged and said it felt fine, just a tiny prickling, nothing scary. Then he joked that maybe the cloak was just lonely. Suddenly, a small, toothy shadow creature crawled out from the darkness at his feet. But our boy doesn't care. The shadow creature actually got annoyed and let out a tiny scream, so Dale just grinned and stepped on its head like it was a little bug. Man, these cloaks must be thinking it chose the wrong master. Anyway, Dale told Helmut he had a request, a real fight. He wanted to spar with his uncle, for real this time. Helmut was caught off guard, but then his face lit up. He was pumped. His whole body started glowing with this blue energy, showing just how strong he was, one of the 7 sword masters on the continent, dude. Dale felt the pressure right away, but Helmut smiled and promised he would only use basic sword moves, no magic aura or anything. Dale's eyes got serious. He thought to himself that knights always fight with everything they have, so maybe his uncle wasn't actually going to take it easy. But our boy had a secret plan. He wanted to use this sparring match to really test out his new shadow cloak. He needed to see if the weapons it could make were actually useful in a real fight. So, he let the shadows rise up and then kicked off the battle with a shadow blade rush, shooting a bunch of sharp, dark projectiles at Helmut. Dude, Helmut just swung his giant sword once and smashed all the shadow blades like they were paper. Our boy was totally shocked. His uncle had just used pure muscle to beat a magic attack. Helmut started laughing, super impressed, and said Dale's attack was awesome. Now it was his turn. He charged at Dale with insane speed. Dale dodged the first swing and used the shadows from his cloak to try and trap him with sharp, spiky shadows shooting up from the ground. But Helmut didn't even flinch. He just grabbed one of the spikes with his metal glove and stopped it cold. Dale couldn't believe how strong his uncle was. Then he jumped way up and brought his sword down in a big overhead swing. Dale had to throw up a shadow shield to block it. The impact was insane, cracking the ground and sending him sliding backwards. Helmut landed and was amazed that Dale actually blocked a hit that could break any normal sword. There, our protagonist realized just how much stronger artifact magic was compared to regular stuff. Helmut was fired up now and yelled that they should go for 10 more rounds. They started clashing over and over. The other knights watching from the sidelines were losing their minds. They whispered that none of them had ever lasted more than 2 hits against his boss, but Dale was keeping up with him. Those guys were starting to feel like there was a huge gap between them and their young master. Fast forward a few days, and it was almost time for Dale to head out with the army. That night, his mom, Duchess Elena, made one last try to stop him from going. She held his baby sister and told him that she was going to ask his dad to keep him safe, because she just couldn't let her son go into such a dangerous place. Dale stood beside her, looking calm but serious. He told his mom not to worry, because his dad and Uncle Helmut would be there to protect him. But Elena was still worried sick. Dale got really serious then. He said he needed to become stronger so that, one day, he could handle the responsibilities of being the next duke. He gently patted his sleeping baby sister and explained that when the time came, he wanted to be powerful enough to protect her, their mom, and their dad. Dale finished by asking his mom to let him go, so he could become strong enough to keep his family safe. Dang, that kid was growing up fast. Elena just smiled and looked at him, all loving, and finally said that he could go with the army. She gave him her blessing, and wow, Dale felt so much better. He promised her that he would come back soon, acting all cool as he climbed onto his horse. Dude was feeling pretty grown up, not gonna lie. At dawn, everything changed. The army was waiting at a military camp, people moving everywhere. Helmut told Duke Allen that everyone was ready to go. The Duke nodded, all serious, and then turned to his son. Out of nowhere, he told Dale to give the order to march instead of him. That was a big deal, bro. The Duke explained that the Black Cavalry would belong to his son someday, and that these knights were his to command. Dale was shocked. Suddenly, he realized something huge. These were his own soldiers now. He often becomes a leader for a big army. But now, it's not the soldiers of Han Sung, his past life, but Dale's. That hit him hard, and he felt a new purpose burning inside. This was his first real battle as a Saxon, and he swore to himself that he was going to do things differently this time. He then moved to the front, feeling the weight of what he had to do. He took a deep breath, raised his fist, and shouted the command for everyone to march. The knights all raised their weapons and yelled back super loud. The sound was insane, like the whole forest was shaking. Everyone could feel how pumped Dale was. As they marched through the woods, the plan got explained. There were 250 cavalrymen and some tough winter wardens with them. Their enemy? About 1,000 orcs. Yeah, that's a lot. The plan was to cross a fast, dangerous river and attack the orc camp by surprise. But how were all those horses and knights going to get across a wild river in one shot? That was the big question. Then, boom. Sophia showed up out of nowhere, surrounded by little snowflakes. She told everyone to move back because she was going to make an ice bridge for the army. Dale was so happy to see her, almost getting emotional. He knew Sophia didn't like fighting, so her coming to help was a big deal. Using her awesome magic, she froze the whole river into a giant, strong bridge. It looked amazing, like something out of a storybook. She waved her hand and told the troops they could cross. The Duke thanked her, and Dale looked back at his teacher. He told her that he was going now. Sophia just stood there, quiet, watching Dale go. After he left, she felt tears in her eyes. She even smiled a little, thinking about how much she worried about her student. Next, the real action started at the orc camp. The orcs were chilling in their rough camp inside a deep ravine, not expecting anything. Suddenly, the winter wardens, those super skilled archers, jumped out and let loose a wave of flaming arrows. The whole camp exploded into fire, chaos, and panic. Orcs were running everywhere, getting burned or taken down by arrows. But then this huge orc survivor roared so loud it shook the trees. That was the signal. Helmut yelled for the cavalry to charge. The black-armored knights formed up into a sharp wedge shape and blasted forward with their lances down. From a high cliff above, Dale, Duke Allen, and Helmut watched everything. Helmut asked Dale what he thought about the attack. Dale, thinking like a boss, broke down the charge in his head. He noticed that with the knights using their secret aura trick and their cool Kull lance formation, the orcs were basically doomed. He saw that the battle was totally one-sided right now. Duke Allen agreed, saying this was what made the Saxon cavalry so famous, but Helmut stopped Dale from getting too confident. He warned that this was just the start. On the field, the surviving orcs tried to fight back by getting into a shield wall, but the black cavalry smashed into them with crazy power. Helmut watched closely and decided to pull his men back so they could reorganize for more attacks. He fired a magical signal, and all the knights started to retreat. The orcs were so confused, they had no idea what was going on. Then, something bad happened. While the cavalry was falling back, the orcs saw one knight lagging behind. They aimed their spears, hit the knight's horse, and the poor guy crashed to the ground. From the cliff, Dale saw the whole thing. His face went dark. He quietly said that things looked rough for that guy. Helmut, next to him, just coldly said that one knight was down. Dale was shocked and a bit disgusted. He couldn't believe they were just going to leave one of their own behind. He watched as a massive orc came at the fallen knight with a giant axe, and our boy got mad. He shouted to his father and uncle, demanding to know why they were just standing there and not helping. But Duke Allen and Helmut stayed silent, looking hard and serious. Dale realized he wouldn't make it in time if he tried to ride down there. He knew the only way to save the knight was to use magic, and it had to be a super strong, one-shot spell to break through an orc's crazy tough skin. Fast, he started changing the magic formula for his ice bolt. He added some cool math for sniper-style shooting, and made it more stable, like a crazy long-range bullet. He even gave his move a sick name. Ice Bolt Barrett M98B. Yeah, that sounded dangerous. Bro playing some Battlefield 6 out of nowhere. Just as the orc was about to bring down the axe, our protagonist fired his new magic. A bright, icy beam shot across the battlefield and drilled right through the orc's head. The orc dropped like a rock. Duke Allen and Helmut just stared, totally speechless. The Duke finally said it was insane that Dale could hit a target from that far away. But Dale didn't wait around to chat. He jumped on his horse and charged into the chaos, ready to fight with his own hands. Helmut yelled after him, but Duke Allen stopped him and said to let Dale go. The Duke was smiling, proud, and a little amazed, thinking that his son was already creating new spells and acting like a true leader. He thought that Dale's inner world, his heart, was probably almost complete. Anyway, Dale could see the orcs were regrouping and looking meaner than ever. But he noticed something big. The knight he just rescued was totally frozen with fear on the ground. Dude looked like he'd seen a ghost. Dale realized he now had two problems: those angry orcs, and this knight who couldn't even stand up. He also thought about his magic. His best spells were strong, but they took way too long to cast. Using long magic in close combat? Nah, bad idea, and he knew it. He thought to himself that he had to find a shortcut, kind of like when you make a math problem super simple. Right as another orc came running at him, he quickly created a new short spell in his mind. But bro, he wasn't satisfied. He wanted it even faster. So he trimmed it down again and came up with his own new move. He called it Ice Bullet. Nice name, huh? The orc was about to smash the scared knight, but our boy was way faster. From up on his horse, he fired the new Ice Bullet spell. It was like, BAM! The ice shot hit the orc right in the head. The orc's head exploded like a watermelon, dude. The rest of the orc's body just dropped in front of the knight, who couldn't believe what he was seeing. That knight looked up and saw his young master, Dale, and was totally confused about why his master would risk his own life for him. Dale, always chill, got off his horse and told the knight not to worry. He even gave the dude a confident smile and reminded him that House Saxon never left a loyal sword behind. That moment was pretty awesome, but it didn't last long because more orcs came running, looking ready to start some serious trouble. So, Dale was like, alright, time for something wild. He lifted his hand, and a crazy purple energy started swirling around him. Bro, it was time for the Shadow Cloak to show off. Our protagonist cast a spell called Shadow Blade, and suddenly, a bunch of sharp, dark shadows burst up from the ground. These things just sliced through the orcs like they were made of butter. Dale gave a dark smile and ordered his shadows to finish the job. Dang, that was cold. One orc survived and looked super confused, but then another crazy thing happened. A giant dark vortex showed up and ate it alive. Talk about scary, bro. Dale turned to the last orc, looking all happy, and blasted it with another ice bullet. No more orcs left. Bro, have no mercy on those ugly orcs. He casually wiped some blood off his face, like this was just a normal day. Then he turned back to the rescued knight and told him it was over. The poor knight was still in total shock and could barely say Dale's name. He admitted he couldn't even move his legs. Dale just smiled, probably feeling a little awkward now, and decided to just pick the knight up like he was a sack of potatoes. He told the guy with a bright grin that they made it out. Right then, Helmut came galloping up with the whole black cavalry squad. Bro, the rescued knight looks like he's falling in love with our MC. Anyway, Dale saw Helmut and said that he would leave the rest of the fight to his uncle. Helmut got super hyped and shouted for the cavalry to charge. The knights all cheered and didn't just shout for House Saxon, they were yelling their loyalty for Dale too. That must have felt good. Later, back at the Saxon camp, it was official. They beat the orcs. The battle was over, and everyone was celebrating. But then Duke Allen called Dale into his tent. Uh-oh, trouble time. The Duke looked super serious and told Dale he had a question. He wanted to know why his son went running off alone to fight the orcs, and asked why he did something so crazy and dangerous. Our boy was totally confused. He just saved a dude's life, so why was he getting chewed out now? Man, being a hero is never easy.